Are you always coming up with ideas? Do you marvel at successful business owners? Do you hate being told what to do? Ever take things apart just to see how they work? Are you a dreamer? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Pro Tapes and Specialties is the world leader in tape manufacturing and specialty conversion with over 40 years of experience. In addition to our pro brand of high-quality specialty adhesive tapes, we provide contract converting services that help improve your profitability, streamline your supply chain, and reduce inventory cost. We offer the most complete range of converting capabilities in the industry, such as cloth tape, double-coated tape, specialty tape, paper tape, masking tape,
vinyl tape, carton sealing tape, adhesive transfer tape, duct tape, foam tape, electrical tape, filament tape, foil tape, reflective tape.
And the tape just keeps on rolling. Visit us online today at www.protapes.com or call us at 800-345-0234. Pro Tapes, it's just how we roll.
Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Entrepreneurial Enclave, Life's Coming Attraction. Ladies and gentlemen, man, I am your host, Kevin Wortham. But ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your hats and your seatbelt today, because my dear friend is going to bring you chills, but he's going to really get you up, amped, and motivated. Sean, welcome to the platform, my friend.
Good morning, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Now, so that was a tough introduction, but hopefully we can build and follow that, right?
That's big shoes to fill, but I'm ready.
Okay, good. So I want to first thank you, because I think that you and I met, and a big shout out to Trina, I forgot her last name, Trina Mulder.
Yes.
And her son Trayvon, because they spoke so highly of you. They said, man, Mr. Kevin, you've got to meet this young man. We want him to come to the program and to speak. So I am so glad that you had a chance to come and speak to our students when we were at the College of New Jersey. So what's been going on since that time, and bring us up to speed, Sean?
Well, currently I'm doing commercial real estate, which I do as a broker. So we facilitate transactions between private and publicly traded REITs
Yes.
in regard to apartments, single-family portfolios, retail properties, but also I'm a partner in a private equity firm in which we purchase and own and manage these units as well. And then I split my year, so that's kind of my adulting career.
Yeah.
Which kind of fills the wealth bucket.
Yes.
But my passion bucket gets filled by I'm a snowboard instructor, coach, trainer, and then backcountry guide out at Big Sky, Montana.
Well, but not to mention, you're also a rugby enthusiast.
Well, I still play. This will be my 16th season playing rugby. So I'm getting up there. I'm 39 now, so it's starting to wear on me a little.
Though, yeah, arthritis in the morning, right?
Yeah, if you want to call it that.
So I mean, that's fantastic. But let's start from the beginning. How did you become Sean Gwinner, and how did you become this great entrepreneur?
So thank you for that. I would say I'm always a growing business owner,
Okay.
and I'm always open to learning. It's
Yes.
not really failing,
Okay.
but I'll rewind. So when I was kind of a youth, I'd like to test the waters, and that was getting into dumb trouble and just not really inspired and
Yes.
hanging out with the wrong group of people. So I got to a point in my life where, I was 18 and I wasn't internally happy with myself. And I knew I could do better, but I was going to end up in jail, rehab, or dead. So no kidding. Yeah, the day before 9/11 happened, I kind of signed the final paperwork to go
Yes.
into the Army.
Yes.
And then September 11th happened, and then September 24th, I began basic training. And from there, I guess my belief, my internal set of beliefs were that, I was just this normal person. But as I went through my career in the military, which was 4 years, I excelled. And I was very good at what I did. And it kind of broke some limiting beliefs internally.
Yes. Now, if I understand correctly, and I know that some of the times that we were talked, you ended up being a sharpshooter?
So I was my job within the military, or the Army specifically, was an infantryman,
Yes.
which our only job is to fight, and
Yes.
all the rest of the military is kind of supportive services. Within there, I had a team leader who was actually a certified, or he went through sniper training.
Yes.
So I started as his spotter, which you work in teams, a sniper team. And from there, I was trained as a sniper, but as in combat and in, overseas, I served as a spotter
Yes.
for him as a sniper.
Wow. So I'm just going to leave the rest of that to our imagination. We won't even ask any more questions about that. But I'm going to tell you, Sean, thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice.
Well, thank you for being worth it.
So you do your time. How do you transition back into the States after you did your time for your country?
That was more rough than chunky peanut butter, to be honest.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't know. I did my, after 3 tours, 2 of which were combat tours over to Iraq.
Yes.
I actually was going to re-enlist for a 6-year commitment and go into something called the BEAR program, which is an opportunity to go into forces.
Yes.
And then if you do that, it's a 6-year commitment. However, when I communicated that to my parents, they kind of had a complete breakdown. I never saw them react that way.
Yes.
So after what they had to go through, 3 years I was there, it doesn't just take its toll on you. It's your family,
Yes.
I decided to get out and see if I could test the waters again as a civilian. And if not, I could always go back to it. So I got out in September of 2005. And to be honest, I had no clue what I wanted to do. It was actually very scary. I got out. I didn't have that support chain of all my buddies who I served with. I got out, and I feel I rushed it in that moment.
Okay.
But once I got back, I kind of fell into a bad routine again of not really taking the skill sets and the lessons I learned from the military.
Yes. And
the next 6 months were really tough, but I had to sit down at some point and decide, what do I love doing? Like, what's going to light me up? Because I was kind of chasing this high that you got from experience in combat, and I was chasing it the wrong way. And I realized what are some things I loved, and I love working out because it just made me feel good.
Yes.
The other thing I loved was snowboarding. So I said, I'm going to take a year off from life, move up to Vermont, I applied to about 16 different resorts and nobody got back to me. So that was kind of deflating. And finally I saw there was a job fair up at Okemo Mountain in Vermont, and I drove up there with my dad.
Okay.
And right on the spot, I got offered a job as a snowboard instructor, and that's how that kind of passion career began.
Wow. Now prior to that, had you been on a snowboard?
Yeah. So my father's from Austria.
Okay.
He's an immigrant, so he came over, but he had me on skis since I was 1.5 years old.
Gotcha.
And then at 13, I had switched over to snowboarding.
Yes.
And I loved it, but I wanted to kind of be an educator in it and pay it forward.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. So your father knows everything about the outback and skiing.
He's well versed. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So he drops you off. You land your first job, and then where do we go from there?
Well, I realized I loved it so much because of the relationships, and at the time I didn't realize, but it provided me a peace of mind, and I was just happy, which was the first time I'd been in a long time. And from there, I realized I was at the time also going to Delaware Community College, or it was Delaware Technical Community College, as well as University of Delaware.
Yes.
And I would do my 4 days down there, drive up to Vermont at 10 p.m., get there at 3 a.m., work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, drive back Sunday night, do my classes.
Whoa.
And I was doing 5 classes at a time. So I did that for 2 semesters and finally realized I wanted to transfer up to Vermont because I love the ski industry or snow sports industry.
Yes.
And I also love the environment up there. So I transferred up to a small, which is now a state university.
Yes.
But at the time it was Castleton State College. It's now Castleton University.
Okay.
So I ended up there. I actually loaded up my classwork. And at the time, this is how I got into rugby as well. I just had I'm about 6 foot, and at the time I was about 225 and very fit because I'm right out of the military.
Yes.
And these 2 guys would just harass me in class every day to come out and practice. And I'd never heard of rugby, and finally to get them to leave me alone, I came out.
Okay.
And I never stopped playing since.
Wow. Now, I want to ask a quick question. Smuggler's
Sure.
Notch. How far is that? You familiar with Smuggler's Notch?
I sure am. That's a great mountain.
Okay, because I'm a black man. I don't ski, but I went up there a few years back with my mentor. There was this thing called the Black Ski Association. They were trying to encourage more black folks to take up snowboarding, snowmobiling, and skiing. And so they had this weekend there. So him and I went and we met with a whole lot of black folks, and that was the first time I was like, wow, I didn't know black folks like snow and cold like this, even though I enjoy the cold. So when you said Vermont, that was the first thing that tricked was Smuggler's Notch. Yeah, okay.
So I was only about an hour and a half, 45 minutes from there.
Yes.
And really cool note on that, Kevin. Burton's one of the biggest snowboard companies, and they've been around forever, and
yes.
they've spearheaded everything. They're making a very big push for expanding the sport
yes.
across the board. So
Okay.
it is more diverse, and I think that's absolutely wonderful. There's some very influential riders.
Yes.
Now that they're so dynamic and it's fun to watch. So I love the push, and
Okay.
to be honest, I hate the cold. If I wasn't on a snowboard or snowmobile,
yeah.
I'd be down in Florida. So
Gotcha.
I'm with you on that.
Gotcha. So now when you say diversity and diversifying, that means that you are trying, or the industry is trying, to encourage more black and brown folks to take up the sport?
Yes, everything.
Okay.
I mean, we want anything. And here's the thing. It is an expensive sport.
Yes.
It really is. Or even more expensive passion. So,
Okay.
but there's so much the industry's doing to push to help expand that.
Yes.
And I think it's beautiful. I love it.
Now, let's hold that story, but let's move fast forward. Where are you now in terms of in the snowboarding now?
So fast forward, that was 05, it was 2023. So what's that, 18 years?
Okay.
My math's not too quick, but fast forward 18 years. Now I train all the snowboard instructors at a resort called Big Sky, which is the second biggest in terms of area in the U.S.
Yes.
And then I train all the staff there.
Yes.
I mentor high-level instructors.
Yes.
And then recently I was successful in my tryouts for, it's called Northern Rocky Mountain education staff
Yes.
and examiner team. So now I travel to all mountains up in the Northern Rocky Mountain Division,
Yes.
Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, and then parts of Washington. And we train other staff, we run events, and then I also examine. So I certify these snowboard instructors.
See, it's that part right there that shows and tells me that you're qualified. So even in that part, by them listening to this podcast, we can encourage more black and brown folks to be in contact with you, and you can begin to start the process.
Absolutely.
Okay,
100%.
That's why I was asking you to fast forward, even though we're going to go back, right? I just wanted them
Sure.
to see the connection that you've done, that you've made. So let's go back. So you got your first job. You're in Vermont. You're taking the double classes. You transfer to Vermont because now you just want to have more of the environment. You meet these 2 big guys that I know you can handle all by yourself, and you decide I want to join them and play rugby. So now you guys are friends and you're doing rugby practice and training. Now take it from there.
So from there, at the time, my focus in college, what I really loved was health in
Yes.
general. I loved the fact that how it made me feel. So I knew it was important. And originally, I wanted to be an athletic trainer and personal trainer.
Yes.
Retrospect, I looked into it, and it wasn't the industry for me in hindsight.
Okay.
However, I built a foundation. So I went through. I got my bachelor in science in exercise physiology with a focus in kinesiology.
Yes.
And at the same time, I was taking several other classes to get my communication major as well to double major.
Yes.
So now I go through that, and at the same time, I became a mentor for a local grade school there, which we'd meet once a week and just help these kids out because it wasn't a high, medium household income area.
Yes.
So it was good to have some kind of positive adult influence in their life outside of their home life.
Yes.
And then I ended up becoming captain of the rugby team.
Okay.
And it was amazing. What it did is it filled a void that I felt wasn't present after I left the military.
Okay. Now, would you encourage more folks to consider the military if they have no game plan?
I would consider. I would encourage them to explore every option.
Okay.
I jumped in. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I guess in that time it was okay.
Yes.
Infantry will take almost anybody. You don't need to score high on tests. And to be honest, I hated high school. I hated grade school.
Yes.
It was kind of a pain point in my life just because of circumstances surrounding how I was treated, what I was told I was by teachers that couldn't teach me.
Yes.
And it was my last option to do the right thing, I guess you can say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
And so sorry. So
No,
to shorten it, I would encourage people to explore the options within there.
Yes.
And as they consider the military, it's you have to want it. You can't just dip your toe into it. You have to want it.
Yes.
And have a plan. See what it can bring you, and also for the day, you do transition out.
Yes.
See how those skills are applicable to set you up for success, whether that's a career or a career in entrepreneurship.
Got you. Now, and I apologize. I said to you in the prep that I wasn't going to ask you any hard questions, but this is a hard question I've got
Sure.
to ask you. When you talk about signing up for the military at 18, 19, did you know what it meant to be fully committed to sacrifice and perhaps give your life? I couldn't even fathom that. What did that mean for you? Did you understand that part?
Well, I understood my current circumstances, that I didn't want to be in jail, dead, or in rehab because of my current actions. So
Okay.
it came down to, at least if I was going to commit my life to something, it was for a better cause. And at least my parents wouldn't look back and go, wow, he was a POS.
Yeah.
And that's what we raised. So I think, I had a bigger purpose. It was better. And to be honest, I mean, what I gained from that, there's a narrative around veterans who get out that they're damaged or that they're useless or all
Yes.
this, and it is the complete opposite, and that narrative has to disappear.
Yes.
And the thing is, the leadership or style isn't always applicable to civilian businesses.
Yes.
There's aspects of it like servant leadership, leading from the front,
Yes.
but the screaming and unintelligent way of dealing with situations is not effective. So
Gotcha.
I think that narrative has to change.
Gotcha. Because I think we are so quick to say, man, if you can't get your life together, go into the service, go into the military. But I don't think they understand what it really means when they tell you, are you prepared to commit your life? And some of us doing wartime, and you were doing this during 9/11, which was active wartime, you could possibly lose your life. So I just wanted to know, did you think through that whole process of what it meant? And that's why I sincerely said, and I'll say it again, thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice, because you were literally putting your life on the line. So I thank you for that.
Thank you.
So you're out now. You're doing these health classes. When do you venture into your first full-blown entrepreneurial venture?
Great question. So I get out, and in the process, while I was coaching snowboarding, I met just a wonderful family who to this day are like my second family.
Yes.
And the CEO of this experiential marketing firm kind of became a mentor father figure to me.
Yes.
But I taught all of his kids since they were 7 years old. And just in May, the youngest daughter, who I had taught at times along with one of my colleagues who also instructed, I was out riding with her at Breckenridge, Colorado, and she's now an instructor kind of figuring out her life. She just graduated from St. Joe's University in Philly.
Yes.
And it's just so cool how the circle comes around. So I get out, I graduate, and to be honest, I didn't really know what I was going to do. He offered me a job as a experiential marketing manager within his firm up in Connecticut at the time. It was called Amplitude Marketing.
Yes.
And I accepted it immediately, coming right out of college at that time. It was $50,000. And I was, around him, and the job I loved. It was pretty much how it worked was we would represent major brands. And at the time, I would represent about 7 brands from Energizer Personal Care, which encumbers Schick razors,
yes,
Banana Boat, those kind of products. And then as well as Pepsi. I think they had about 13 accounts with Pepsi. And what we'd do is we'd work with a brand manager from that company. We'd build a plan. They'd have a budget, and there was a certain target demographic and result they wanted for the product.
yes.
And then we would go and facilitate that relationship. So, for example, what we did is experiential marketing is an experience. So it's the interaction you have with people in the product. So
Yes.
we would, for example, we did the Katy Perry California Dreams tour, where we set up a big fan interaction event,
Yes.
and then would host meet and greets with her and fans, and run social media and run different contests. And then we also did, Brad Paisley and the band Perry, Jordan Sparks, the Jonas Brothers, and then I did 3 years with NASCAR with certain drivers.
Okay.
And that's where my brain really was like, wow, this is awesome, because yes, I had to spend, about 3 months of the time in an office,
Yes.
but the other 9 months I was on the road traveling, and I got to experience, I traveled to 48 states and almost every major city you can think of in all those 48 states, minus
Wow.
Hawaii and Alaska, and paid for.
And you're fresh out of college, so this is not even work.
It was, I loved it. And I graduated, I think I was 25 or 26 when I graduated.
Yes.
And so I had a little more maturity even in college,
Yes.
given my age, but I loved it. I loved every aspect of it. And the money was fine, but I was traveling and living, and I had autonomy to create the success for these programs down the road. There was nobody micromanaging me.
Yes.
I got to manage up to 30 people at a time for every event. We were in
Okay.
different cities every night. So there was a high sense of accountability,
Yes.
and the more success I had, the more opportunity I got.
Wow. I love it. So now, you're doing all of these promotional, I want to call them promotional stops. Again, when does it click on that I can do this for myself? When do you, because I think when I met you, you had a partner, and then you and your partner, you were doing some healthcare facilities. How did that all come about?
So I did the experiential marketing
Yes.
till about 2013 full time, and
Wow.
I
Okay.
so it was 6 years all in,
Okay.
and I got to a point where there was positionally I couldn't go up vertically, like I
Okay.
was kind of in my position, but my gratitude and loyalty was to my CEO because of how he always treated me and took care of me.
Yes.
So I did not want to go to a competing firm.
Yes.
And at the time, the classic story, I'd met a girl
Yeah.
and I was up in Connecticut at the time. And I said, I'd never move back to Philly. And, things got hot and heavy, and I moved back, and literally the relationship imploded within 30 days.
Wow.
And I went, oh shoot, what am I going to do here? And my best friend at the time was doing investment sales,
Yes.
commercial real estate,
Yes.
since I was 3 years old. And I had no financial background. And he's like, hey, we're our own bosses. We have a partner. This is what we do. This is what I make a year.
Yes.
And I went, let's go. And I jumped into it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's good. Now, but if you had a relationship and with the CEO and he was serving as your mentor, could you have pulled him aside and said, listen, I feel stagnant. Are there any other positions that you could thrust me in or that you could create for me?
So in that moment, I did not.
Gotcha.
I'm not big on asking. I felt that to me that appeared to be a handout based on a relationship, and I don't like doing that.
Understood.
So that was me, which in hindsight, maybe he would have been receptive and could have created a position that allowed me
Yes.
more growth or opportunity. However, in hindsight, I go, maybe he saw me, and that's a great thing. Maybe I can ask him one day how he viewed me. If he maybe thought I wasn't capable or I didn't have, that wasn't my skill set that he saw in me. So that's why.
Okay. All right. So you're doing the healthcare, because when I met you guys were managing a couple of healthcare facilities. Where and when was your first healthcare facility?
So that was it was a franchise.
Okay.
There's thousands of them all across the world. It's called Right at Home.
Okay.
And what it does is it provides home health aides and like almost nurses or skilled care for elderly population, as well as people who are sick and can't do their normal daily living activities.
Yes.
So the way I got into that was actually the same first team leader from the military who I was a spotter for, and he was a sniper.
Yes.
Had, finished. He went his own path. He lived in New York, but he's one of my best friends still.
Yes.
And we stayed in contact, and he had opened one up in Rhode Island with his sister, and they covered the whole state of Rhode Island. And, after a couple bumps and bruises, they were having a lot of success up there.
Yes.
So he felt, given my position, I had also taken a different path on top of doing the investment sales. I also became a CEO of 2 market centers for Keller Williams, which is the largest real estate company in the world.
Wow.
So he had seen that and said, hey, there might be an opportunity here if you want it. And again, that's one thing I've always, if I see an opportunity and I want to explore it and I want to learn about it, I jump right into it. And we pursued it, and I can tell you that whole experience, if we come back, that definitely kicked my butt and gave me insight that was incredibly valuable into what my skill sets weren't and what they were.
Yeah. Now, well, Sean, let me stop you for a second. You keep saying broker. When did you get your real estate license?
Right. So right when I moved back to Pennsylvania with that girlfriend,
oh, okay.
the first thing I crammed 10 pounds of Skittles into a 2-pound bag. Like, I'm always going.
Wow.
So I got it right away when I moved back, which allowed me, because all you need is a regular residential real estate license for whatever respective state. However, commercial kind of abides by a different set of procedures and laws. So I can operate across state lines with the assistance of using a broker to kind of close that deal. So commercial operates very differently. And
you're still active in the real estate market or business?
Oh yeah, every day.
Oh man, that's fantastic! Wow, listen, talking to you gets better and better. I didn't even know that part.
I know. Maybe I should market better.
But I mean, when you and I met each other, we weren't talking about that. We were talking about some of the tools that you had put together to kind of move folks to the next level, which I thought was impressive, and our young folks thought that was impressive as well. But
right.
So you're doing the healthcare. You decide to join forces with these guys, and now at the height of me meeting you, how many facilities did you guys have?
So what we had was one central operating center, where we staffed out of, and that's where Katrina and then Rakita, who was Katrina's cousin, were my number 1 and 2. I mean, they were running that business. I mean, they were absolutely incredible. And I myself, I would have probably sunk year 1 if I didn't have them. So
wow.
they were you want to call it ride or dies.
Yes.
Like they were there every day. They were getting after it. You know, we pick each other up, and it was not an easy environment. So
Yes.
from there, we had at one point, I think at most, I want to say it was 89 home health aides that we kind of managed or had on our roster.
What?
And it was a lot. It grew very quickly, and it's tough. Best way I can describe that business is 24 hours a day. You have to keep your foot on the gas pedal, but figure out a way to fill the gas tank.
Wow.
And it's crazy. And with that, I don't know the exact number of facilities, but we covered all of Mercer County, New Jersey. So that's like Princeton, Trenton, Hopewell, all that area.
Yes.
And we had our aides in facilities up in Princeton. We had them in assisted living,
Yes.
in skilled care. We had them in hospice. We had them in the home environment. So
Yes.
it was a lot.
Wow. Because that was when I met you, and again, shout out to Trina for just making the introduction, because you were fantastic, and what was most impressive about you, to me, was the military. It's something about a person who goes through the military. It just opens you up, because you were time on task oriented, and so I love that, and I still appreciated that about you. So we
Thank you.
Because when we first started talking, you were sharing with me and you were sharing with the class, how you stay motivated and how you allow, I guess, the game more or less to come to you. But as it's coming to you, this is how you're compartmentalizing what you want to do. Share more with us about that part.
Yeah. So, you think back, and I challenge anyone listening or yourself to do this.
Yes.
Think of the best mentors you've ever had in your life, or leadership that inspired you, that didn't have to yell or lay your tasks out and micromanage you. And then think of your productivity and how you felt like to accomplish the task. Like when it was somebody who micromanaged you, you're like, F off.
Yes.
Like, leave me alone and let me learn and explore this, versus where it's like, here, go. And they're encouraging you and saying and asking you just very mindful questions to help you grow.
Yes.
And you light up. Like, you come there and you might not, like, not every day is rainbows and unicorns. Days will suck. Yet I felt this, and I hope this is the mutual feeling. But Katrina and Rakita, I always was trying to encourage their growth and support them any way I could.
Yes.
And in return, their appreciation, they were ride or die. They stuck with me through the shit and through the good.
Yes.
And we work as a team. So I that's really where I learned that, because I had known environments where it wasn't like that. And I realized when I got into that, and especially in Keller Williams, when I oversaw 128 different real estate agents, and my responsibility was to build programming, resources, and mentorships to help their business grow into the next level, and then help facilitate that business. So I felt the model that I could translate over needed to be not only you're making a salary so you can pay your bills, but number two, that for your work as you grow this, you should have earned equity in it, ownership of that over time, and getting the profitability from that based on directly what your responsibilities are. And then on top of that, it's give them autonomy. It's there's certain things we had to do a certain way. And to be honest, our partner, Asher, who was kind of all over the place, he was kind of more the capital partner. He didn't really manage, but he would come in here and there, but he didn't see the day-to-day to what we were experiencing. New Jersey is the second most regulated state in home health care.
Wow.
And it was a, pardon my language, a ball kicking. And I'll keep it as clean as I can during this, but it was, holy crap. And we did some incredible things as a team that none of the other agencies in that area had done in 20 years.
Wow.
And in that area, specifically for Right at Home, had never been able to operate longer than a year and never had success. And in 3 years, we did have success. And while it was a constant battle, but again, I implemented stuff to give them ownership of their day-to-days and how we operated. And yes, there are some things where I'm like, all right, Osher passed this down. We got to try this.
Yes.
When it didn't work, then we kind of brainstormed on like, what do you guys see is working? Because to be honest, they were running the day-to-days. My responsibility was to get out there, make the relationships, kind of field all the BS that was coming in, and then help get us clients while they were, managing the level of care, managing all the issues we have, and then staffing it, which was, I couldn't imagine doing that. Like Ricky, when she was doing that, I don't know how she did it.
Wow. And then you're also dealing with on the pay side, because you've got the insurance trying to pay you or individuals wanting to pay out of pocket. Wow. And then when you're providing that level of care, you're also having to deal with the doctors that are providing like prescriptions if they have to take medicine. You have to deal with that as well?
So generally, if we're in a facility, the facility would handle that with more of a skilled care, because we did more than non-skilled care. We didn't get into the skilled care aspect. Okay. So it was literally making sure they don't get hurt, that they don't get up. If they need anything, we provide it. If it's in the home environment, helping them get dressed, taking them out for walks. Like it was just that kind of stuff. So we would deal with the family in terms of prescription.
Yes.
But Katrina, I mean, I think she was an RN for over 26 years, I believe. And I have to think back, but her attention to detail and her ability to manage that care was incredible.
Awesome.
To where she managed that stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. But again, that was a wonderful connection. So at what point, well, when you, so Sean, every business that you were moving into or every business that you were starting, did you ever create a business plan just to kind of assess the process?
Oh, of course. I mean, so here, I'll rewind. The commercial real estate?
Yes.
No, I just jumped into that.
Okay.
And that was probably for the better. However, once I jumped in and, for better or worse, I kind of was just numb to it. So I'd make 300 cold calls a day, but I'd listen to podcasts specific to my industry. Yes. I educated myself about every asset class.
Yes.
I used my tools and resources to develop my knowledge, because I'd call these gentlemen, well, I don't want to call them gentlemen, but these guys who are managing billion-dollar portfolios, and I would hit them. I'd bypass their gatekeeper, and I'd start my little spiel, and they're like, "Listen, Sean, when you pull your head out of your ass, give us a call back in 6 months." And so that was an invite to call them the very next morning and say, "I'm going to keep calling. Like, I want information, but I will bring you an opportunity when that happens." Yes. And some were all about it, and I learned. You can't find this education in a book. You have to experience it.
Absolutely.
And just getting stomped down, but you have to be resilient and know that it's not personal. It's business, and you have to think of your own life, how you protect your time. So I understood it. And within that, it's educating yourself on your industry, your market, and where's going to make you stand out and successful in that, but also while protecting your personal time and having a quality of life. So that's what I would say for the commercial real estate. For the next endeavor I got into was being the program manager for a nonprofit called Bunker Labs, which helped. It almost served as an accelerator or incubator, except we did not take direct capital. What we did is we just built resources and provided direct education. And what it serviced was veteran spouses who were either doing a startup or were scaling an existing business. So we would provide them resources, relationships, education, event space to do their events.
Yes.
And that I still to this day, I absolutely love that. Every bit of it. I have so many good friends that are continuing to grow their businesses. And from there, it was wonderful because it was just hands-on. We had just such a great community, and I learned the nonprofit model. And that was one of the only financial models I didn't understand as a business owner.
Gotcha.
And I felt that was important to learn. But in the process, I learned just how much I love that space. So I would say from that, it's meaningful relationships. You have, how you have a relationship with your best friend, your loved ones.
Yes.
You have to develop that with business people. And guess what? If it's not a desirable relationship, don't do it. You don't have to do business with people.
Absolutely.
Certain ones.
Now, are you
So
still active with Bunker Labs?
no, so the
Okay.
model changed to where it's more online education, which that was kind of why I stepped away, because I loved the interpersonal aspect of it
Yes.
and helping directly.
Yes.
When they changed the model, it wasn't the space for me anymore.
Okay. Okay.
So that also taught me the importance of understand your business models, like
Yes.
your revenue model, your P&Ls, your profit and losses, what your expenses are.
Yes.
And then if you're profitable, how are you reinvesting that back into not only your business to grow, but your people?
Yes.
That's a big one. And I learned how from all these different experiences, pull in aspects of each of those financial models
Yes.
to build one specific to the current businesses I'm doing.
Got you. And so, because I think right after Bunker Labs and some part of the healthcare, we kind of lose touch with each other. And then I guess almost a year later, you resurface. And in your resurfacing, you were saying that you went through some mental changes. Kind of share with us, if you will, some of those changes that you had to go through or that you went through.
Yeah. So after 3 years of right at home,
Yes.
we got to the point where Osher, as the capital partner, he was also a 75% owner, felt it was the right time to sell it and
Yes.
pull out of it.
Wow.
And we had a buyer who was familiar with that Jersey market, has already owned it. So we decided to sell it. And I personally, I had very little say in it, and that's okay. I understand because he has a family. He was capital partner.
Yes.
But I kind of hit that burnout phase because I've just been going nonstop since getting out of the military at 18, and this
Yes.
is fast forward 12 years later, I guess. About 14 years later, and
Yes.
just going nonstop, and I burn out. And the day we sold that business, I was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm dropping off the map. And that was no kidding. The week after we sold the business was when quarantine kicked in for COVID.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's crazy.
you can't make it up. I swear.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't believe it. Like that happened. But to be honest, I also didn't really care at that point because I was out and I went out west and I was just going to chase snowstorms and clear my head. And in the process, I was going to all these national parks and, fast forward 18 months, I traveled almost 1 million miles by land, driving, walking, whatever. And it was an amazing reset button. It kind of realigned what I want professionally, personally, and health-wise. And it also let me know, like, where I want to be. So I did that for about 18 months. And in that process, just when you said, we were in contact, then I disappeared. That's because I moved out to Montana. And I just got away, and I was like, I shut down, reset. And in that process, that's also where I realized that a missing aspect of my life for about 6 years was that snow sports industry. And how much I loved it, how much it lit me up being an educator in that. But the reason I left it 6 years ago was in that moment, it wouldn't be able to fill for my lifestyle and what I want. It wasn't able to satisfy that financial freedom bucket. So that's why I came back to it, but I had very specific goals this time. And that was to get to the highest level of educator I can, which I am at, minus being on the national snowboard team, which only encumbers 7 riders and it's tryouts every 3 years. So only 7 people out of hundreds get picked for it. So that would be my only way up. And to be honest, I'd have to understand their mission for me to even have interest in trying out. But for right now, I just feel my impact is in my role of traveling this region, building a great camaraderie between all the staff there, and then sharing what I know and my experience and how to make them better at what they do so they can explore these options.
Sean, you said something, and I want you to jump on it and go a little deeper. How important was it for you to pull away and hit the reset button? What do you think would have happened had you not done that?
Oh God. I mean, health-wise, you can see when somebody's coming to work and they're just beaten up. There you go. I said the word work.
Yeah.
and yeah, like I said, there's days, but when you're stringing together more days that you hate what you're doing than you don't, then you should stop.
Got you.
And people say I can't. Yes, you can. Like as you've heard in the past, I've literally jumped professions I had no experience in. It's you have to, and you're going to put in the work. Like when I did this too, I mean, at some point in that, I had a anxiety attack where I woke up on a bathroom floor, and I didn't know what it was because I was perfectly healthy. So you really have to mind your health, and then mind your business. That was a good entendre, but if you're not healthy, you're mentally and physically, it's really going to inhibit your ability. And then you also have to make sure, if you're going to be stuck, in the trench, you might as well do it something you love or are passionate about and good at.
Absolutely. Hold on just a second, please. Hold on, please.
Sure.
So, Sean, I just thank you for that. So again, just to recap the importance of just doing your own thing, staying in your own lane. How important was that for you?
It's utmost. I mean, it's what makes you get out of bed and do it great.
Yeah.
People will just walk through life and it's miserable. And I always figured if whether I'm broke or I'm wealthy, I might as well. If I'm putting effort into it, I might as well love it.
Exactly. Now, so very quickly, Sean, let me ask this question: what do you think were the most challenging aspects of your life?
I don't think I can pick out one, but I think it's at least I can only speak for me, but mine is that the drive I have, and it's because my ultimate fear is failing and not, doing everything I knew within my abilities and using them the right way and then using them to help people. And I think that's a struggle, especially when you're not growing or you don't feel like you're growing or you don't feel like you're successful. You feel like you're failing. And I've worked very hard on training my brain to say you're not failing, you're learning, and you have to respect the algorithm. And there's timing and everything with life, and you have to be observant of that, and then make your decisions and your actions based on what's going on and what you want to accomplish.
And so within that, what would be any regrets, Sean? Do you have any regrets?
None.
Wow. Wow. So you're saying, you're telling me from day one that you went into the military to now you have no regrets.
So this isn't a regret, but if I, in hindsight, if I wish I had access to something, it would be financial literacy and how to create income that works for you on top of your earned income. So how to invest and how to protect my credit. Yes. I made a lot of poor financial decisions early in my life because I wasn't financially educated or intelligent. So I would just say access to that. And the thing is, you have all the resources today to educate yourself.
Absolutely. What would be some motivational tips you would want to leave the audience, or you would want to leave an entrepreneur?
Number one, listen to yourself. There's so much chatter and distraction around us.
Yes.
Eliminate it. And you're going to have people, unfortunately, who value their opinion and what they think are some of your biggest proponents that don't support you, unfortunately. It's not that they're trying to hurt you, it's that they don't understand or that wasn't what they did.
Yes.
But you have to understand that and envision it, and then just keep reinforcing that. And specifically, one thing I discovered was the way I talk to people, I'm always encouraging. I try and inspire people. I try to help people.
Yes.
Yet my internal dialogue, was horrible. It was very critical, and it's what drove me and put me where I am. However, the language I'd use in my own head to myself was nothing I'd say to another human. So you can be critical of your actions. You can push yourself to your limits, but also be kind and do it in a constructive language versus saying, yo, MF, or you're dumb, or like to yourself. And it's crazy how different that changes your actions. And then finally, it's, this is kind of how I live, and it's a great story. At the end of the day, it's most people aren't going to. I'll tell you this: I don't want to be remembered as being a broker or a business owner. I want to be remembered for how I made people feel and the cool stuff I got to experience with them or help them with. Like that's so everything you pursue. Look, and if your goal at the end of the day is to just make money or be this big boss that people respect, great, pursue it. But be kind to people along the way. Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, as we've had this conversation today, Sean, one of the things that strikes me as so interesting is you have literally come full circle. You started out on the snow. You've done the military thing. You've done hospital facilities, and now here you are again living your best life because you're back on the snow, training other folks now, certifying other folk now. So wow, how cool is that, right?
It's amazing, and I'm armed with all this knowledge now. So my life is in my control. Where before it was I loved it, but I was doing it 7 days a week, and that will burn you out. You have to take breaks, but you also have to have passions and hobbies that allow you to re-energize because you're going to need it.
Gotcha. And then, how important was it to have mentors and those supporting persons along the way? How important was that?
You can't put a dollar amount to it. It's nobody can. I know in every endeavor that I've ever been successful or even learned from, mentorship and support from. Surround yourself with people a lot smarter and who want to share it.
Yes.
It's so instrumental. So instrumental.
Love it.
And people want to help.
So
that's the thing.
With the time that we have left, any shout outs that you want to give to anyone?
Gosh, there'd be too many, but how about just, for example, you and your organization? I mean, what you've done for the countless lives, like that's one thing I'd like to kind of flip this back to you, is something I admired and what made me really resonate with you. I mean, first, you're charismatic, you're a guy's guy, highly intelligent, but you pay that all forward back to these kids who, obviously, as we know, you can take it like mentorship. You take a wrong turn, but if you have somebody like you in your life and you're creating this community to where they can use these different skills to create a great life and change what their narrative currently is, that's amazing. That's what I loved about it, and just admiring and even following some of your entrepreneurs that had gone through your program that are in. It's just so cool to see their growth and them doing them, and then hopefully they realize how important it is for them to pay it back and forward. So I give you a lot of credit, because this is it's not an easy endeavor what you've taken on, and you've done it for so long and you've impacted so many lives. So I think that's incredible on yours. So I give you so much praise for that, and just for the person you are, but also the business guy and how you're able to facilitate so many resources. So I give the shout out to you, actually.
Well, then Sean, thank you. I am certainly honored and humbled by your kind words. If people are interested in reaching out to you, how do they get in contact with you, Sean?
Simply if they want my phone number or email, I would say have them reach out to you directly, and then kind of figure out how I can serve them. I mean, if I'm not the right person, but I'll happily speak to anybody. However, there's skill sets I know I have and don't have, but I do have people that have those. So I'd be happy to also make an introduction, help them with resources I have if I have them. But if they just want to see what I'm doing and kind of what we talked about to get an insight, I'm on all the social medias. For Instagram, it's The Wonderin' Warrior. And so I can send that to you after. And then it's also on Facebook. It's my first name, Sean, S-E-A-N. And then my last name's the letter G with a line, and then my W-I-N-N-E-R, because my last name's Gwinner, or G Winner. So,
gotcha. Sean, listen, man, this has been fantastic. I'm certainly glad we had a chance to catch up, and you are doing some fantastic things. I follow you on Facebook, and man, if you don't know anything about outdoors, just the pictures that you take, they are incredible, man. Our world is beautiful. Our country
So
is
beautiful.
beautiful. My God. So hopefully
So
one of these
beautiful.
years I'm gonna, if it's when I get too before I get too old, I'm gonna join you. I'm not gonna snowboard.
Yes,
I'm not gonna
I'm holding you
snowboard.
to it.
I'm not gonna snowboard. I may just walk around.
And that's good. If that's what makes you smile at the end of the day, then I'm taking you up on that.
Absolutely.
So we will do a little trip.
Yes, yes. Sean, you have been fantastic, man. Again, I thank you for your service. I thank you for your sacrifice. I thank you for your commitment. But then more importantly, I thank you for sharing with us on the platform today.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. It's always good to be able to pay for it. I hope this can help someone, or that I can help someone through this. So thank you for that opportunity.
Sean, let's talk in text. Let's stay connected, my friend.
I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Cigars and some bourbon soon, all right?
Well, no, cigars and tequila. You can have the bourbon.
Oh, all right. I'll join you in tequila.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
All right,
my friend.
Kevin.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That concludes another episode of The Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. We hope you found this episode informative and enlightening. If you have any questions or comments about any of our episodes, please call 609-731-9311 or email kevin@minding-our-business.com. We look forward to joining us for our next one. Until next time.